Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Isaiah, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how we have used our income generating account to invest in ourselves. So the purpose of this channel is to help others understand how to sell options, and the goal is to generate $600 or 1% of the total account value every week. Well, as I mentioned in a lot of videos, I borrow from this account. So in today's video, rather than talk about the options, I'm going to talk about what we have used some of the money for, as well as what has come from it. So today's video, we're going to focus on the vending machine business. For those that are new, like I said, this is an option selling channel where we sell options to generate income, but it's Sunday and the market's closed, so I figured it would be a fun idea to talk about what I've used the money that I've generated from this income generated account to invest in myself with. And one of those is vending machine businesses. So this video, I'm going to talk about how I started it, some of the times I've had failures, and some of the times I've had success with it, because with every business you start, seldom does it go from beginning to end with no missteps, no failures, things like that. And there are just a lot of things that'll kind of make you laugh or make you learn along the way, especially the failures in the business. And I'm going to talk about those today. So, vending machines. If you're a little bit younger or you have TikTok, you have probably seen people on there talking about how they make $450 or $500 in 15 minutes with vending machines. Well, the most vending machines I've ever owned at one point and had in businesses was around 75, and definitely was not making $500 every 15 minutes. I can promise you that. With that being said, I want to talk about how I got my first vending machine and where I got it into the first location, how I did it, and all the steps that went to it. So, I sell options and generate income. So I was collecting income, and this was a few years ago in a different account. This is my this is the account I like to use on YouTube, but I do have another account that I sell options in. I use the same strategy across any account I've ever opened before or use. Anyway, selling options and generating income. Well, I was generating some income, and I decided it was time to start investing in myself with some vending machines. So I went on the Facebook Marketplace. You can buy just about anything on there. And I found a pop machine and a snack machine refurbished. The snack machine was around $500, and the pop machine was around $900. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I went there, and I borrowed a pickup truck, and I'm like, I'm going to load them up and take them back to the house. I'm going to find a business to put them in. Well, this is where I made my first mistake. I gravely underestimated how heavy these machines were, and the person that was selling it wasn't able to help me lift the machines up. So, unfortunately, I damaged the first two machines I bought trying to get them in the truck myself. I got a drink machine halfway up, and like by myself, and I was just exhausted, completely exhausted. And halfway through the push, I dropped the machine. It came down and broke. And on the drop down, it also kind of leaned back and hit the snack machine, which was behind it, and it caused some glass damage on there as well. So right off the bat, I was negative about $1,100 in the hole. Not a great start to the business. Fortunately for me, the person who did own the machines helped me clean up the glass and everything like that, and they weren't too upset about the situation. But they did have a couple neighbors come over and help me lift the machines into the back of the truck, and I had to go and buy, I think they were around $300 glass panels each, so about another $600 for each vending machine. because, again, I broke them trying to pick them up. And then when I got back to the house, I had a few of my neighbors come and help me put them in my garage. So now I'm about, about $1,700 in the hole. I got them in the garage, and I'm ready to go. Next, I need to get them in locations. I really thought it was going to be a lot easier than it actually was. I was completely wrong on that. So I started cold calling tons of places, built the website, cold called. I mean, I probably called like 150, 200 businesses. And I finally got a location. I was so excited. I didn't do any due diligence. It was a small office, and there was probably like 25, 30 people working there on a daily basis. And the office is only open 8 to 4. So right away, I was having limited window of sales and limited number of people going to use the machine. So at the time, I didn't realize that was a potential issue. I just was so excited that I was finally able to get my machines into a business. So I had to rent a U-Haul truck, which was like $20 for 75 minutes, so it wasn't terrible, and the business wasn't too far away from the house. So was able to get that on there. I had to rent a pallet jack because I couldn't lift these machines up by myself, but the truck had a lift, and I could get the machines on the pallet jack, get them on the truck, and take them to the location. Well, by the time I was finally able to get to the business, it was a little bit after hours, but one of the women that worked there agreed to meet me there and help me put the machines in, and it was a process. She didn't help me, but she kept the door unlocked. I could barely fit through the door. I had to take the machine apart, both of them, put them back together on the inside. It was probably a 5 or 6 hour process, and I felt so bad. The woman had stayed there, after her work time to help me get those machines in, and it was probably like 10 o'clock by the time I'd finished. So I finished, I closed it up, I stocked all the machines, I did a couple tests. I didn't, do as many tests as I wanted to, but again, I had been there since 4 o'clock to get this machine in there, about 3:15 actually. I did get there a little bit before close, but I finally got everything in there, and this building was in a little complex, so there was each little complex was its own business, and they were kind of separated by walls and things like that. So kind of like a super center. Each small business had a little area. Well, it was finally done, and the next morning I was excited because I knew the business was going to open. I knew that I was going to get some sales, and you're putting these imaginations in your head where you think, oh, I'm going to get hundreds of dollars today, and I'm just going to make so much money. Well, the next morning I get a call from the man who I had spoken with to put the machines in the business, and he said, oh, you put them in the wrong one of my businesses. You were supposed to put it in, and I won't name the business, but I had put it in the wrong business. I got there, and the woman just said, oh, yeah, in here. And I put it in there, and he was like, no, you have to get those out today. We have other vending machines coming for that business. You can't have those in there. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. So now I have to go in there, and it took me 5, 6, 7 hours to take the machines apart, get them out of there. I had to go rent the pallet jack again because I can't just move the vending machines, and take them out of that building to basically the unit right next to it, so I didn't have to go far, but still take it apart, get it on the pallet jack, get it through the doors, put it back together on the other side. It's a 5 or 6, actually probably longer than that, all day essentially, working on that machine. And I finally got it back into the office, the building that it was supposed to be in. And so kind of a little deterred. I've spent a little bit more money than I wanted to. Some of the products got damaged when I moved as well, so some of the pop cans dropped, so that's lost inventory. And I know it's like, oh, it's only a few cans of pop, but everything's adding up at this point. We've made no money and we're just moving stuff around. And every time you take a machine apart and put it back together, you run the risk of doing some damage. So nonetheless, got the machine back together in the new business, the correct business. And I paid for this thing through Cantaloupe, where it tracks, that's a credit card reader, it tracks how much money you're generating each day. It's telling you all your deposits, what's being purchased, everything like that. So it's a few $100s, and then there's a monthly fee with it. And it's an awesome investment. Definitely recommend, because it allows people to use credit cards on there. So I am refreshing that thing every minute. I mean, I'm just refresh. End of the day, first day, no sales, not one. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, you know what? I bet you something went wrong with the machine. I better go in there. I went in there, used my credit card, purchased an item, and I checked the report, and sure enough, it showed that one purchase. And then I tested with the pop machine, got a can of pop, and boom, both of them tracked. The machines worked fine. So now I have no sales except my own, and this is now 3 days into this business. By the end of the first week, I had sold one bag of Cheetos and one Diet Pepsi. That was my only sale on the first entire week of the vending machine. And I was pretty devastated, because I was like convinced that I was going to be the next huge entrepreneur. I had it all figured out. I was selling options, doing okay there, doing vending machines. And this is near the beginning of my option selling journey. Not at the beginning, but I was still kind of refining my own strategy. And so I definitely, every loss of income or every mistake was a lot more costly. And I just couldn't believe it. So I'm like, you know what? Everything's going to be better. Next week, we are going to see some serious cash flow. It's going to be amazing. And I waited over the weekend. The business wasn't open on the weekend, which, unfortunate. The next week came around, and by Wednesday, I had sold a bag of Ruffles chips and a bottle of Orange Crush, and I can remember my sales because I was staring at them emphatically. All these years later, I still remember. And I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. So about a month went by at this point, and product, especially cans of pop that aren't diet, that don't have that fake sugar, they expire faster. So by my first month, I had to throw a decent amount of inventory away because I had overstocked. I had put a ton of stuff in there, overbought. I was expecting to basically sell out everything every week. I know that was optimistic, but I had no backing knowledge, and I was learning as I was going. So I lost a ton of money on inventory. Everything adds up. It costs a lot of money to stock a machine fully. No, I didn't lose everything in there, but because some of it has 3 months lifespan. But I definitely did lose a decent amount. And that's when I knew after this month that even though it's going to cost me more money, I'm going to have to relocate or try something new. So I went with, you know what? It's cheaper to try something new. Let's go and ask all the employees what they want in that machine. This will be the one thing that no other vending machine company was doing that'll get me ahead. I guarantee it. I went around, I asked everybody. I said, hey, what do you want in there? What do you want? And I wrote down everything. And of course, they didn't want things that were very good margin-wise. So for example, you can get a Monster Energy drink for around $1.23, $1.25, and you sell it for about $3.15. It's a pretty good margin. You get a can of pop for like 47 cents, and you sell it for $1.25, and so on and so forth. And of course, the things they wanted made it so my margins were not that 50% they were more like 10%. So now my items were more expensive. And of course, I made another mistake where I overbought inventory because I thought, oh, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to buy everything they want, and they are going to just love it. End of the second month, I sold 3 total drinks and 4 total snacks. 2 months in, and I've got nothing. And I spent a ton on this new inventory because, again, I thought, this is what they want. I am going to make them so happy. They are going to get exactly what they want in their machines. It's just a win for everybody. Of course, even though every person emphatically said, this is what everyone wants. This is what everyone wants. This is what you need. And that's where I kind of want to bring in a lesson here. As someone that's had a lot of vending machines, you need to focus on items that move, that also can be purchased for your 50% margin or more, as well as don't get anything too extravagant. Stay generic. Get the Diet Pepsi, the Diet Coke, Monster Energy drinks, things like that. They move. They have a good margin for you. And they're not so out there that only a select few people like. And that's what I did with that first location. I thought, oh, each person told me exactly what everyone would want. And of course, nobody bought these items. Nobody. And that's when I learned that you need to pick and choose what you put in your machines. Now, you can let them have some say to an extent, but don't follow everything they want. Otherwise, you're going to have no margins, and you're going to be completely surprised when nobody buys the stuff that everyone ensured that everyone wanted. Every person there, every manager, every leader, every employee will tell you, this is the item that every single person wants. Well, unfortunately, that's usually not the case. So now we're a couple months in. We have not made anything. And I knew it was time to relocate. And so during that 3-month span, I had been crafting different websites, coming up with different ideas to try to get some foot traffic. And I did have a hit on a car dealership. And I do like car dealerships for vending machines. And because you got a lot of customers coming in and out, there's a lot of waiting time sitting. You grab something to snack on, something to drink while you're waiting to be assisted for whether it's with financing or any sort of this part of the sale. And they said, oh, hey, we have X amount of employees working. We usually have this much foot traffic, things like that. Because on the website, I asked them those questions in prompt. What kind of foot traffic do you have? How many people do you have working? And how many hours is this location open? Because what I learned from that first location, my biggest failure there, was I learned that you can't just go into every business that wants you. You can't just accept that when a manager or, again, a leader tells you that, oh, everyone is going to buy from your vending machines once you put it in here. You're going to make tons of money. Trust me, I'll get to more parts of the story where I talk about the many different times I've been told that, oh, everybody wants a vending machine. And it's usually just like one person. But with the car dealership, from the months of being in this small business, I had quite a few opportunities. People had been reaching out, but again, they were all very small businesses. And I always want to support the small business, but I'm a small business, so I have to support myself. And with businesses that have 3, 4, 5 people in them, or they're only open for a few hours a day, I'm going to lose money on the cost to get there to and from, the cost to get to the store to and from, the cost to replace parts as they break, and the cost to replace inventory as it goes bad. So I did talk to the owner of the car dealership, and they gave me all the information I had learned that I needed from the first failure of a location. How much foot traffic do we have? How many hours are we open? And how many employees full-time are working throughout the day? Foot traffic and employees are different because, again, if it's a car dealership, you have more foot traffic than you have employees. Same with stores and things like that. But we'll talk a little bit later about why we don't want to put vending machines in convenience stores, or at least why I didn't have success with them. But the conversation with the car dealership went amazing, and I went back to the owner of the small business, and I said, hey, I got to move these machines. I'm going to give you a 2-week notice before I take them out, so heads up, 2 weeks. And he was like, I can't believe you want to move all the money we're making you. And I'm like, man, I've actually only lost money since I've been here. And he really started screaming at me and telling me how full of it I was, and that he just sees people lining up to use the vending machines. And so I'm like, then someone's taking the money out, because there is not any money in theirs, and there's no credit card sales. So we argued for a while, but at the end of the 2 weeks, I came and took the machines apart now for about the 4th time to get them through those doors, onto the pallet jack, onto the truck. I had to rent another truck to move to another location. Every move costs around $300 minimum. By the time you're renting the truck, you're getting stuff in and out. You're getting the equipment you need to move machines, everything like that. So every move is a minimum of $300. Depending on how much gas costs, how many miles you got to go, everything like that. So every move is not cheap. So right there, that concludes part 1 of my vending machine story. And now we're going to jump over to... Okay, so now we're in our second location, but we still only have the original 2 machines, and we're in a pretty big hole. Spent a lot of money moving the machines multiple times, taking them apart, throwing out wasted inventory, and unfortunately the business did not start as hot as I thought it was going to. But the next part, we do pick up some traction. So the car dealership, one of my favorite type of locations. A lot of foot traffic, and a lot of downtime for customers to want to buy some snacks. There's a lot of waiting for financing, things like that. So a lot of opportunities for them to, buy some of my snacks, things like that. Also, salespeople. There's not really a set lunch, at least in the car dealership, because you're kind of, when a customer comes in, you're dropping what you're doing to make that sale. And so it was more convenient for them, especially on peak times, to just buy from the vending machines, grab an energy drink and a snack, than it was to try to get a whole meal in, because, quite frankly, you just don't have that time. So they were able to get, snacks in, things like that, and my machine started to generate income. And it wasn't massive amounts of income, but I was probably walking away. Well, let's start with gross. I think I was grossing around $3,000. And that's not as amazing as you think, because we're going to break down a little bit of that. So we grossed $3,000. That was one of my better locations. We grossed $3,000. Well, cost of goods sold is about 50%. Give or take. So let's just round it to 50% as an average. So that meant right away my net profit, what you walk away with, dropped down to $1,500. Well, throughout the month, I had a few pieces that needed to be fixed, because, every now and again a bag of chips falls and it kind of gets stuck and people shake the machines, and unfortunately that damages them. So I know just a little shake, you wouldn't think it would, but there's a lot of little moving parts, coin mechs, things like that go into the vending machine. And so I probably spent around $500 that month on fixes Granted, it costs $180 per visit for the vending machine guy to show up. So right away, you're in a hole pretty big. So end of the month, now we've spent around $500 in fixes. So now we're net profiting $1,000. Still doing well. Then you factor in gas to get to and from location, to and from the store, and factor in some of the inventory that you lose. And this location was a commission-based location, and so I had to pay them a percent off of the gross sale. This was my first real location, so I didn't really think too hard about stuff like that. By the end of my tenure, I had no places that, or by now, I have no places that pay a commission, that I need to pay a commission. But anyway, at this time, you pay a commission because you're keeping your machine in their business. And so by the end of that month, after everything, and then you got a little bit of maintenance on your vehicles, things like that. It's heavy to transport lots of cans of pop and bottles and things like that. So a little bit of maintenance on your vehicle, putting extra miles on, and oil change. So at the end of the month, I probably netted around $250, $300 tops. And so that $3,000 that we started with at the gross just looked amazing. I mean, it was like, oh my goodness, look at how much money we brought in. And then it's like, okay, well, we got to go shopping. All right, right there, $1,500 to make up for the goods that were gone. And then all the nickel and dime expenses that come along with it. So like I said, by the end of that month, I was profiting around $250 to maybe $300. So I was a little disappointed. But that's when I was like, all right, vending machines are the Walmart method. You need to get a lot of them with small margins to generate some serious income. So it was time again to take some more money from my income generating account. And this is where I ran into another issue. So I took some money from my option selling account, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy 2 more machines. Well, I found these great machines again on the marketplace. And I'm like, oh, this is just amazing. These are premier condition. And the person's like, yeah, they are, and I'm selling them for cheap. But I'm so tired of people saying they're coming and not showing up. So now I've decided I'm going to require a deposit because, these are great machines, and I'm tired of people just not showing up on me. And at first I thought, oh, completely understandable. It's so inconvenient when people don't, do what they say they're going to do. And so I'm like, hey, no problem. He's like, hey, send me $500 deposit. I will hold these machines for you. No rush. I'll even help you load them up when you get here. And I'm like, oh, what a guy. And he sends me an address in Cleveland where they are. And that's an area, I'm in Ohio. It's an area a couple hours away. So I get in the road, I go, and I get there. And sure enough, it is an empty parking garage. There's nothing to it. Just empty building, or empty parking garage, a small little building next to it. Nobody around. I go to try to reach out to that person. Sure enough, he's got me blocked, or his account has been closed or terminated or whatever. But nonetheless, I lost essentially everything there. And that $500 was gone because I believed that someone was holding these premier vending machines for me. So that's a second lesson that I've learned along the way, that not everybody is an honest person when it comes to doing business. So just do your due diligence. Don't send money ahead of time. Just wait till you see it. Learned a lesson there. Nonetheless, I kept in my pursuit, kept with it, and I decided that I would, find another 2 machines on Marketplace, or I might pay a little bit more to get an all-in-one machine, because then I thought if I could get an all-in-one machine, I wouldn't have to try to transport the 2 machines. It costs a little bit more. I could get a smaller truck, cheaper, blah, 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 and easier to move. And so I did. I decided to switch that route. It costs a little bit more to get a combined machine than two separate ones. And on the flip side of that, you don't get to hold as much inventory. So it does mean you're going to stock it a little bit more, but that's okay. So I finally found the machine. It was like $1,800. It was in pretty decent condition. This one was real. I got there. They helped me load it up. I got back. I had some people help me unload it, put it in the garage, and now it was time to get my second location. And it worked out. The owner of that car dealership also had another car dealership in another area about a half hour away. And I thought, oh, this is great. This is just fantastic. And so I got my machine, got the truck, couple $100, moved it out there, ready to go. Got it in location, and it hit the ground running. Started selling fast, but unfortunately, it was selling too fast for the type of machine it was. It was a mixed machine, which means you get some cold drinks and some snacks. But because you're combining the machine, you are getting a lot less inventory space. The individual snack and the individual pop gives you a ton of inventory that you just don't run out. But the combined, oh man, you you do not get that much inventory. So even though I sold out, I didn't make that much money. And then I had I lost time too, because by the time I could get there to stock it each week, it had already been empty for a day or 2 days, and people would get frustrated. Like, I had a lot of people angry that, like, hey, I only get a 15-minute break here and 15-minute break there, and the products are never in stock, never. And I'm like, man, I want to keep these people happy, but I just don't have enough money to buy another machine. What can I do? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to have to borrow from the income generating account again, the option selling account, and try to get 2 new machines. Well, I was able to do that, but the owner of the car dealership was like, hey, you're just not doing a good enough job keeping this one stocked. You're going to have to take this machine out. You can stay in the other location, but you got to have that one out. And at this point, I had already purchased the 2 new machines, got them ready and loaded up, and they were literally in my garage to be transported with another truck the next day. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep up with the demand. The location was, like I said, about 35 to 45 minutes away from where I am. And so with all the other things I had going, I couldn't get there to get it stocked in time. And when I was trying to remedy the situation to get the 2 machines with more inventory so it would last a full 2 weeks, I got kicked out. So now I'm here with 3 machines and still only 1 location. But I am taking a lot of losses because I did have to buy another truck to go and move that machine out, which I was expecting to do, but I was expecting to be able to move my other 2 machines in. So unfortunately, I took another loss there, moving machines out again. So I got 3 machines in the garage. My websites, though, are doing pretty well. I'm definitely keeping those up to date at this point because I feel like that is the best way to get some foot traffic. And I did have some more foot traffic. There was a factory that was open 24 hours a day, which is just amazing. That's the best. Something that's open 24-hour days is the best. And they were like, hey, we're looking for some drinks and snacks. The only catch is you can't have any cans because we have to be able to reseal any liquids and things like that. I'm like, hey, no problem. So I had to open up my vending machine and kind of customize the sleeves. You can change the size of them in there so that they can hold pops or cans or whatever. So I got those updated, and I took the individual snack and the individual pop to that factory. And I had a few mishaps early, but nothing super worth noting. When I plugged them into the outlets, they blew a couple fuses for the business, and that was kind of awkward. But they ended up getting a better setup, got that taken care of, and no issues. They didn't charge me or anything for like that or anything like that. So that was good. But so those machines got up and running, and now I have 2 locations. Again, probably walking away with $400 at the end of the month net after 2 locations. But by this point, I've been going at it for about 8 weeks, so it's about 2 months, 2 full months in. I'm going in on my 3rd month. I have 2 locations. I thought I'd have more by this point. I thought I'd have a lot more cash flow. Actually, I take that back. I think this is actually starting month 4. Yeah, so I was 3 months in, 2 locations, and starting month 4. And I ended up picking up on through the website. Moral of this story here is utilize a website. It makes it easier to generate traction. And once you start getting a few businesses, if you can get them to add some testimonials, it makes a big difference. And I was able to get the first 2 businesses to add some testimonial. So now I had some traction. It was a little bit easier to get some places because I wasn't somebody that didn't have any backing or any proof that I could do what I said I would do. And once now that I had a couple locations, it became a little bit easier for me to attract some more attention. It's kind of like when you go online, for some reason, when we see something that doesn't have a lot of views or a lot of likes, we just assume it's not as good as the one that has all of the likes and all the views. But that's where we do have to remember that everybody starts somewhere. And I'm guilty of that too. I always try to remember that, hey, you know what? If these first businesses wouldn't have given me a shot, I would have never been able to expand. So the 3rd business, this business was it wasn't a car dealership. What was it? It was It was a mechanic shop. So not as much foot traffic as the car dealership, but it was a decent size enough mechanic shop that had decent amount of workers as well as decent amount of foot traffic of people sitting in the lobby. Not as much foot traffic as the car dealership, but the mechanic shop was okay. And that's actually where I put that machine that had the 2 that could hold both, the pop and the snacks at the same time. Like I said, you lose inventory there because it doesn't hold as much. But for locations that are not as high volume, those are almost perfect. So I put that in there. Now I have 3 locations, and they are up and running. And it kind of started to snowball after that, similar to when we're selling options. After you hit a certain threshold, you're able to really just have option contracts expiring every week, which makes it so much easier to generate your income when you can just roll positions and not even have to look to open new ones. So that being said, the 3rd location led me to a 4th location. The guy that owned the mechanic shop owned another one a few towns over, and he was happy with my service there, so I was able to get another machine. This time I didn't get through a Facebook Marketplace because I needed to find one a little bit quicker. There is a place about an hour away from where I live that refurbishes machines professionally. They kind of focus on vending machines, so you have to pay a little bit more than Marketplace, but the machines work and they have a little bit of a 30-day warranty, things like that. So there's a little bit of a benefit to it outside of just the timing and not having to search so much. So I got another half and half machine, put it in there. Now I'm up to 4 vending machines and or 4 locations, and it was really starting to feel like I was actually accomplishing my goal. And the first couple months definitely were pretty deterring, and that's where I want to reiterate the point that you are going to fail. It happens. And to be honest, you learn more from these failure times than you do from the times you succeed. So anytime you start something new and you don't get it right the first try, just assume that was the plan. Just assume you needed to do that so you can learn a new way to approach something. I've definitely learned more from bad business decisions, bad relationships, bad investments than I ever have from the other side of it. Good businesses, good investments, good relationships, because the good ones you take for granted. The bad ones, they consume your thoughts. And you make sure that you don't make that same mistake again. So, that being said, we now have 4 locations. Our website is kicking butt, and we're getting quite a bit of foot traffic. Now, there's still tons of businesses on there that were reaching out to me that were way too small. They were either hybrid, which means they don't have people working every day, which, love the hybrid setup. But if you're trying to get people to buy snacks, you need them there. You can't have businesses that don't have people in them. You're not going to be able to sell any snacks. And also businesses that had very short hours. So if I was going to rank the businesses I've been in, number 1 is 24-hour factories. Head and shoulder above everything else. Because they're open 24 hours a day. And they pretty much consistently have the same number of people working throughout each shift. For the most part. There might be some shifts with a little bit less. Usually the day shift will have the added managers and things like that on it that sometimes the night or the afternoon shifts don't have. But that's okay. They're all, for the most part, it's all about the same. So, now 4 businesses in, and I got a doctor's office that's interested in vending machines. And I thought, this is going to be too slow, too small. I really shouldn't do it. I shouldn't do it. And the HR person or secretary, I'm not quite sure, kept calling me and kept sending messages and said, I promise this will be a great location, blah, blah, blah. We have so many people. So many people that come in. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine. I'll do it. I purchased 2 new machines, a snack and a drink from the refurbished. I wanted to get a half and half because I knew that location was not going to be that busy. But unfortunately, the vending machine business that I was purchasing from did not have any in stock, and they don't really have a timeline for when they were going to get another one in because they're refurbishing machines. So you kind of gotta buy what you can. So I picked up the 2 machines. I took them to that business. I got them all set up again. It's hundreds of dollars to move machines to a business, and then another couple $100 to get it all stocked. All stocked. This is a Friday, so Saturday and Sunday this office is closed. Monday they open it up. Monday I have no sales. Tuesday I have no sales. Wednesday I'm like, okay, I have time. I've made sure all my other locations are good. I'm going to go check it out. I get there, the building is closed and it's locked. I can't get in. There is nobody there. Nobody. And I'm like, well, what's going on? It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the day. And there's nobody here. I thought, okay, maybe it's a small business, small doctor's office. Maybe they do take a lunch during the day. Well, I waited a couple hours and nobody showed. And finally, I poked around till I found the number of the contact that got me in there, the woman that was like persistent. And she's like, she answered my phone call and she just, I'm so sorry. And I was like, well, what happened? She's like, I didn't realize our lease was ending, or I thought even if our lease would end that they were just going to have you move the machines to our new location, but they decided they're just not even going to do vending machines. And I was like, are you kidding me? I moved these machines there. I bought them specifically for this location, and they moved their practice to a different building. And so then she gave me a number for the person that actually owned the building. And then they came and, unlocked the door, and I had to get another truck and another couple $100 to move my machines back to my garage. So this was another failed opportunity where I spent money, lots of money to get inventory. And this is in the middle of the summer that this was going on. So I lost a ton of product. I put what I could in the garage, but a ton of product. Chocolates melted. Any food was gone. So I lost a ton of product. This is thousands of dollars invested in this location, gone. So even after about 5.5 months, I'm still way in the hole from everything that's been going on. But I'm still positive. I learn a little bit more from every fail. Now I learned that, okay, I need to make sure that if I'm going into a business, they have this place leased for a minimum of another couple years. Minimum of 3-year lease before I'm even thinking about moving in. And so, again, these are questions that I didn't know ahead of time, and I never would have known had they not, if I wouldn't have failed. So I go back to my website. I'm still doing cold calling, and I do get a nice hit on a business that they sell lumber, not necessarily lumber, but they build things that are made out of wood, and they don't use nails to build them. They're like put together like puzzles. It's actually pretty incredible. But they're not houses or garages or sheds. They're little like shacks that they put together, and it's a pretty cool business. So nonetheless, I go check it out. I ask all the questions that now I've learned that I need to ask. Like how long are you here for? Oh, good, you actually own this building. How many people work here? How many hours a day is it open? What kind of foot traffic do you have? So like they had no customers. It was a business. The business was open for about 9 hours a day, but they had about 100 workers that worked throughout the day. So the lack of foot traffic and the lack of hours was compensated from the number of workers. So as long as one of the three sides of the triangle is extremely massive or has a large number of workers or a large number of foot traffic, you can kind of look past some of the other things like hours of operation. Yeah, 24 hours would be better, but I would rather have 100 workers that are there for 9 hours over 10 workers that are there for 24 hours. So it's kind of find something that can meet all three or something that meets one in a significant way. And so in this situation, we met one that had perfect number of employees, just enough for us to kind of ignore the other two red flags. So I take the machines that I got for the doctor's office that moved on me, bought all new product, got another couple $100 into a truck to get it moved. And at this point, I'm definitely getting pretty strong. Moving vending machines is not easy. These things are heavy. Regardless if you have a pallet jack or a dolly, they are heavy. And of course, doorways are just wide enough to get them through without the pallet jack or without the dolly or assistance. So it's always a process. Every building is a process. And this one was a big one. And I'm going to jump into how hard it was to get in this building in part 3. Okay, so we're into business number 5. It's a nice big wood shop. The downside is it's all gravel. Like they do not have any concrete or cement driveway for me to be able to roll machines across. Well, the way this place was set up is they had a long driveway, then a building, and then behind that, through a bunch of gravel, another building, but you had no way to get a car through there. And then behind that, one more smaller building where everyone went for food and drinks. And again, there was no way to get a car or truck back there. So I had to get my vending machines on the pallet jack and push them through gravel, up a hill, and all in all, it was 3/4 of a mile between the first building and where they had the lunchroom break. It was way up on the hill, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I had to push through this gravel, 2 different vending machines, one at a time, because I couldn't move 2 at the same time. And I got them up there. It took me probably 5 or 6 hours by the time I finally got them up there. I had to rest a lot. It was so heavy. I had to keep tightening the straps because of how bumpy the rocks were. And I finally get up there, and this guy comes up, and he's like, "Hey man, you should just let me know. I could have thrown this on the forklift, and we could have just carried him up." And I'm like, dude. So I guess I should have asked, but in my defense, I know they all saw me struggling for a couple of hours to get those up the hill. But I'm glad I did, because that, honestly, probably even today is the best location. By far the most volume in the summer. Winter months, not as many employees are working, and they have downtime, so they don't do a lot of sales. But the sales they have in the summer are so significant that they cover that off and down time. So no regrets getting those machines up there, because not only did I get the machines there and they hit the ground running with some great purchases. The man that ran that business had him and his siblings ran a couple of them. Like, I guess their parents started it, and then they each kind of run one or something. But his sister ran one that was in a place that was about 2 hours away, hour and a half actually. And I'm like, oh man, I mean, I'd love to get another volume place, but hour and a half drive, I mean, like, is it even worth it? And then I calculated the numbers, crunched it, and I found if I could get big enough pop and snack machines that would make it so I only had the stock once every 2 weeks, then it would be worth it. And I found a big pop and a big snack, and they were like 6 rows across, where normal are like 4. This was 6 rows across and like 30 deep for the snack. And then the pop machine, I mean, it was massive. Huge glass one with the arm that went up and down, and it could fit, I don't know, 500 pops in there, 500 drinks maybe, all said and done. I mean, it was huge. Biggest one I've ever owned. And they were extremely expensive. I had to use a lot more money than I wanted to get it, but that's the whole reason, again, we're selling options, is to invest in ourselves. So I took some money from there, and I had been saving the profits from the other locations over the last, at this time, we're about 7.5 months, 8 months in. So I put all that together to get these 2 new machines. I got them out there, place about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and I don't have any funny stories on that location. That location has been consistent. It's still a good location today, just the drive time. But I actually don't make the drive anymore. I have an employee that does it, but we'll get into that. So I now have 6 good locations, or 5 good ones and 1 decent one, basically. And I was happy. 6 locations up and running. 10 total machines, a couple places that have the 2, and then 2 places that just have the one, the mix. So I was pretty happy with the locations. I was happy that I was finally starting to see profits, and it felt like it was a lot easier to get into some locations, because again, I have word of mouth now. I can say, hey, you know what? You're not sure if you want to go with me. Why don't you call? I'm not gonna use the company's real name. Let's go call company A or company B or company C and ask them about my service or quality or things like that. There's a lot of things you can't control in business, but the one that you can is how often you're keeping your machines maintained, how often you're cleaning them, how often you're keeping them stocked, and things that you're doing to kind of make sure your customers know that they are valued. Like I said, you need to avoid asking them what they want in the machines or what people need in the machines, because, again, that's just going to be what their opinion is, probably not what the people actually want. So, with that being said, the next few machines are locations 7, 8, 9, and 10. All came through pretty smooth, all through the website. No real issues. Other than one, I had a weird encounter, and maybe it was just, I don't know, maybe it wasn't even weird. It was just kind of like, I felt like I met a sage. There was one location that was in an apartment complex, and I don't have that location anymore because people kept breaking the machine. So, don't have your machines outside anywhere or in very public areas that don't have cameras or anything like that. So, the apartment complex was location number 10, and it started out okay. Routine maintenance, plus every now and again the glass would break. But even when they break the glass, they wouldn't actually take anything. It was kind of weird. But so things were getting damaged, and every now and again, the machine would just need a lot of repairs because people were either shaking it or trying to reach in there to get something free or whatever. But it was definitely not worth staying there. But one of the people that anytime I went there to do some work on the machine, this guy, I mean, he was like a walking aphorism. And what I mean by that is he always had these crazy sayings, and they were like, they were similar, like the early bird gets the worm, but they were really off the wall. I'm trying to, I wish I could remember all of them, but every time he had a couple of them, and it was like, they were like, you miss a lot of shots unless you don't shoot, but if you don't shoot, then you miss everything. It was kind of like a take on you miss every shot that you don't take, but he Another one was like the road for his success is always under construction. I know I had heard this one from other people, so I know they didn't come up with it, but he was like, if at first you don't succeed, then you probably shouldn't do skydiving. I know he didn't come up with that one, but some of the other ones I'm sure he did. And it was just like that every encounter. And the times I always had to get there were pretty late in the evening, so it's dark and it's just me, and he'd come out of the shadows and he'd be like, the road to success is covered in construction, or, don't turn a light off during the day unless you need a light at night or something. Just weird stuff like that. They didn't always make sense, but they always kind of made me chuckle a little bit. And I never felt unsafe or anything like that, but it was just kind of odd or ominous the times that I would be there and he would just randomly come out of nowhere. He probably honestly was the guy that kept breaking the machines and just wanted to mess with me. I don't know. But after probably 2 months there of having to go there every week to fix stuff, it wasn't worth it. I got the machines out of there and relocated them to actually another car dealership. And by the time I had those relocated, I had another couple businesses as well. So now at this point, I'm up to about 20 different locations. And I think it was like 40 machines, not quite, because I think I had a couple half and halves in there somewhere. So let's just say about 20 locations. And business is starting to go really well, but I don't have enough time. So then it was finally time to start hiring an employee. I had built this business, failed so many times, and in another video, I'm going to kind of talk about some of the experiences I've had with people at these locations. I did want to touch point in this one on the walking aphorism guy, but there were a lot of other unique encounters that I've had from vending machines that I definitely want to share at some point. But this video is already going to be over an hour long, so I don't think anybody's even going to make it to this point. And if you are, drop me a little smiley face so I know you made it this far. And I promise next video on Monday we'll return to our normal trading, but I figured this would be a little fun side quest. So anyway, we are up to about 20 locations. It's time to hire my first employee. And I'm so excited. I'm going to make sure I'm the best boss. I'm going to make sure it's a fun environment to work. I'm going to make sure that they are set up for success. And you know what? If they do well, I'm going to give them opportunities to to become partial owner through equity, things like that. You know, I had all these plans in place. I was so excited. Unfortunately, I didn't realize how expensive it was to post jobs on the various websites. It's usually anywhere from $20 to $30 per day. And when you post a job, if you hit that easily apply option, you will get thousands of candidates. I mean, just thousands of them. 99% of them did not read anything about the job. Anything. I put on there, you have to be able to carry about 50 pounds worth of product because you have to be able to get the pops and the drinks to the machines. So you have to be able to carry those things via dolly. Occasionally, some of the businesses have stairs and some of them don't have elevators. So they, it's just limitations of the job. And but a lot of people didn't read it, and a couple of them that had some good resumes were like, "Oh no, I only work desk jobs, or I don't do anything where I have to travel." And it's like, man, you gotta be able to go to the businesses. Like, I'm not hiring an employee to make sure that I'm stocking the machines. So I ran into some issues, and it ended up costing me quite a bit of money to keep the job posted, because it took me a while to finally find some resumes of people that were genuinely interested in, not people that just hit the easy apply option. I did have to talk to a number of candidates, though, on the phone before I finally found some people that were really interested. And I got my first employee. I was so excited. They seemed energetic, ready to go. And I was just excited. I couldn't believe it. I finally got my first employee. Obviously, when you hire an employee, your profit margin is going to go down significantly, because you're paying them, but you're going to make a little bit of money and you're going to save time. And with that time, I was going to start, working to expand the business even more. So, first day on the job of the first employee, I take them around, show them the whole route. And, they say they understand it, they're excited, things like that. Second day, I do the same thing. Third day, I do the same thing. Fourth day, I do the same thing. And to be honest, it's really not that hard. GPS, the route, location, just it's a matter of finding the vending machine in each business. And every single one of the businesses have people working that can just point for you, if most of them, you don't just see the machines right when you walk in. So it's not that hard. Big thing is making sure you're stocking products in the right sleeves, because you're charging different things for different items. You have to charge more for an energy drink than you do for a can of pop because it costs you more to purchase. You have to charge more for a candy bar that costs you 93 cents to purchase over a bag of chips that costs you 42 cents to purchase. So it's just a matter of making sure you got the things in the right locations, and we spent a lot of times on days 1 through 4 going over those things with visual pictures that they could take with them. Well, on day 5, I decided, hey, I want you to go by yourself, but call me. Any questions, and I want you to take a picture after each location. And they said, sure, perfect, and they did. End of the day, they dropped the van back off. We talked about their day. Nothing seemed off. Next day, they did not come back. Did not come back for day 6. Nowhere to be seen. Didn't answer my phone calls. Couldn't get a hold of them. Tried their references. I gave it 2 days. Actually, I gave it 1 day, and then I didn't hear from them. And then they had listed references that I called for background check. I called their references. None of their references answered. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, well, whatever. I have to go check on these machines. And I got in the van. I went to the first location. I stocked the machine, and I'm like, okay, let's take the cash and the coins out. Completely empty. Completely empty. All the locations were missing cash and missing coins. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. All 20 locations were missing cash and coins. Now, being completely transparent, most of the sales are through credit cards. So there's not like there's massive amounts of cash in there, but there's definitely some. So that hurt. Not to mention, I now have to repost the job, pay again the $25 to $30 a day, depending on which job board I'm using. And it adds up big time. So keep in mind, we're at like 8 months in. I am big time in the hole. Maybe 9 months in, big time in the hole. No success. I am a failure as a businessman so far. But I get the job posted, and I got a new employee. They weren't as energetic as the first employee, but they seemed reliable, and that's what I needed, somebody that could show up, do the job. So first 5 days, this time I went 5 days rather than 4. I went all 5. And then on day 6, I'm like, okay, I want you to go to each location. At the end of it, I want you to take a picture of it, send it to me, and then send a picture of the cash machine now, part 2. See, I added to it. I take a picture of the cash. I learn from there, make sure I know how much is in there. So they do that. Unfortunately, my employee put all the stuff in all the wrong sleeves. They were just taking stuff out and putting stuff in random sleeves. They put some of the pop in the snack machine. I'm not sure why they did that. So at the first machine, I said, oh, no, you got to redo that. Look at the picture I sent you and redo that machine. So they said, okay, and they redid it based on the pictures. Again, I provided visuals for each locations on how they should look. On top of, again, spending 5 days in a row with them, making them follow what we're doing, take notes, anything to make sure that we have this information. And they still had it wrong, and I'm like, no, look at that again. And then they do it again, and somehow they ended up with candy bars in the pop machines. And I was like, no. So I'm just, just hold up there. I'm going to drive my car, and we're going to go through this together. I get there, we work it together, get it all fixed. Go to the next location, do it together, get it all fixed. Third location, all together, fixed. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, so they were only able to get 3 locations that day. But I said, hey, starting tomorrow, start with location 4, and, make sure we get it following the pictures exactly. And they're like, yep, got it, perfect. Sure enough, location 4 did not match the picture at all. Nothing. Everything's in the wrong sleeve. And like I said, it's important because you charge different things for different items. You can't charge the same for a bag of chips that you can for an energy drink. It's different. So had to, video chat with them, walk them through that process because I just physically, I couldn't drive out there that day. I had some other things I needed to do. And again, you hire the employees so you can have more time to do, invest in yourself in other ways. And so this went on for a couple of days. And finally I said, hey, I don't know if this is for you. We're not seeming to be meshing. What can I do to make this easier to understand? And he just was like, listen, you're putting too much pressure on me. I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, okay, I understand. So employee 2 did not work out. But in the time that employee 1 and 2 were working on, I actually did pick up 2 more locations. So now I'm up to 22 locations. But I had to be stocking them. I had to stock all these locations still because employees 1 and 2 did not work out. But then employee 3 came. And employee 3 was and is fantastic, still to this day. So I learned from some of the failures with employees 1 and 2 what I could do to be better, to make sure that employee 3 was set up for success, that they had everything they needed to become the best employee. And once employee 3 started going, everything fell into place. They were able to keep machines stocked. They took over the maintenance calls. I mean, this wasn't right away. First it starts with, you're just paid to do the routes. You stock, and then it became, okay, now you're shopping. I trust you with the credit card. You're shopping, which again, that's another time suck. People don't realize when you're buying a few $1,000s worth of snacks and drinks at a time, it's a few hour process. It's not, you're just in and out of the store. This is thousands and thousands of dollars worth of product, so it takes a while. So once I was able to get her to start doing that for me, it was just wonderful. So employee 3 was just head and shoulders above anybody I'd ever have working for me in any business capacity. And I was loving it. So then it evolved to, hey, not only are you getting paid your hourly rate to do your routes, to do your shopping, I'm also going to pay you an extra X amount per week to be on call. And if you get maintenance calls, you take them. If you don't get any calls, then hey, you got paid for nothing. I viewed it kind of as in the medical field where a nurse will be on call and they get paid a very low amount. And if they get called in, then they get paid their full amount or extra overtime, whatever. And I viewed it kind of in a similar manner where if you got a call, you were working and you got that pay, but if you didn't get a call, you were getting paid anyway. So it was incentive for them, allowing them to get a little bit more money, and for me to again step away from another time-consuming thing. Maintenance calls are very sporadic. I think that's the best word for it, sporadic, where I might get none for a week, and then on a random Tuesday, you get like 12. All the locations break at one time. So it's always stressful in the back of your mind knowing that, oh man, I could get a call at any time, might have to go fix something, yada, yada, yada. But now that the employee was handling that, I didn't have to do anything with maintenance. I didn't have to do anything with stocking or shopping or handling customer service issues. All the customers loved that employee, and they still do. So now they were handling any customer service issues, and then I added another fee on top of that to help with marketing. I gave them a little bit extra money. They had a little bit of design experience, and I said, hey, any customers you can add to the business, I will get you a commission on it. And that works out well for both of us. They helped me get a couple locations, not very many. The website and word of mouth at this point really made it a lot easier to compound and start building up a solid clientele. But at this point, the business is running successful, and I do have another number of funny stories that go along with building this business. But for today's video, I do want to recap and close out here. And my recap touch points are, no matter how many times you fail, be consistent and be persistent. You might get lucky 1 or 2 days. You might get unlucky 1 or 2 days. You might have motivation 1 or 2 days. You might be completely unmotivated 1 to 2 days. But what sticks through that is consistency. Making sure you stick with the plan. You're not always going to be motivated, so don't rely on motivation. Same as going to the gym. You're not always going to be motivated to go there. Same as doing a little bit of research to better yourself. You're not going to be motivated every day. Some days you are. But what you can be every day is consistent and persistent. So stick with it. Don't jump at the first alternative option. Do your due diligence. Make sure this location makes sense. Make sure that it helps fit the needs that you need. And make sure it's something that can help you have success and help you grow your business. And finally, like I said, don't give up. It will happen. I failed so many times within that first year. So many times. So many things I should have done better that after I had that failure with the employees or with the locations, all things that hindsight 2020, I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I just, do this to avoid it? But you learn from these failures. So I know this video isn't about selling options, and I promise tomorrow we'll be back at it. Market's open. We'll look at what we might do. I don't know if we'll open any new positions tomorrow, but we will definitely be there. We'll definitely be back to our market talk, and periodically, I will post videos like this where I talk about some of the businesses I have or have started or whatever over the years and kind of touch point on my failures, some funny anecdotes that went with them, things like that. Unless people don't want to see videos like this and you'd rather just see straight options, straight market talk, let me know. But like I said, I figured this would be fun because as I preach in every video, I talk about how we use income through selling options to invest in ourselves. And now today, years later, the vending machines have definitely been worth the investment for me. I love it. No regrets there. But definitely times of failure and times of, oh my gosh, why did I go down that route? With that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you. And let me know in the comments below if you want to know a little bit more about starting vending machine businesses, or if you have your own businesses and you have some funny stories you want to share. I'd love to chat about them. Maybe I start a podcast and I talk about some of my businesses, and I have some people on that have started businesses where they failed, where they succeeded, things like that. So let me know if that'd be something you'd be interested in. Also, I do have a Fiverr if you want to learn how to sell options. I'll put the link in the description below. And then also I do have a Twitter I just started getting active on, so give that user in the description. You can follow me over there. But I will see you in the next